I think having compassion is very important, especially when you're seeing one of your partners getting frustrated and it's going into, frustrating moment. If you can stop for a second and look at them and look at their inner child. When somebody is having a breakdown and when somebody's being vulnerable, the thing that happens immediately is you go back to being a child. That's the truth. Anytime I am extremely vulnerable, I know I go back to being that little girl. And when I've seen you being vulnerable, you go back to being that little kid. So it's important to have each other. At least one of you at that moment can be the person that's saying, hey, I'm right here for you. It's okay. Right. And so compassion goes a long way all the time. Yes. I was going to share a story that happens with Latinos families, in that one time I saw my dad was really angry at my brother who's sitting somewhere over there. And we are from the south of Mexico, so it's tropical, it's mosquitoes, there's bananas, there's papayas, there's flip-flops. And if there's a superpower that all grandmas and moms have, is the superpower of the flip-flop. And mom was chasing around my brother with this flip-flop. Australians have boomerangs, we have flip-flops. And so we were all watching, and she was angry at the beginning, and my brother's running like afraid, and he started going into laughter because he couldn't believe this was happening. And my mom is going into laughter too, but they're still chasing each other. And we're all watching this, and the whole thing became fun. So if we could have compassion for our partners the same way, they're getting angry, maybe it looks like a temper tantrum, if this is part of you that kind of can giggle a little bit inside. Or if you have the time later to laugh at it and say, you remember when you did that thing? Oh my God! Yeah. And laugh about it. I think that's very important, so having compassion with each other. The other one was just the other C, and I'm going to finish very quickly.
No worries.
It's being curious. I think when you approach a conversation with curiosity, you avoid an argument. Why is it that most of the time we have the inclination to think of the worst case scenario, or that person that did something to you, and this goes for any partnership also, but also anybody, was machiavellically planning behind your back to hurt you.
Yeah, something you do really well is you assume that I'm doing the best. You assume like, I didn't mean to say that to hurt you. I didn't mean to do this thing to upset you.
Yeah.
So before I get upset or hurt, let me ask you more curious questions.
Yes.
You do a great job at that, which is
you do too.
So it doesn't make me feel like I'm on eggshells. I can still be myself. And because I never say to myself, what can I say today to make her really upset, to scream at me, to go run away? I never think that. So it's not my intention. So you do a great job of asking those questions. When you're like, that didn't sound like you meant to say that. Let's, what does that mean?
Yeah. And also because, again, we are both living our life. So I'm going to share this. The other day I'm trying to remember what we were doing, but we were at a fair, and there was this cornhole thing, and I said to Louis, can you hold this? We finally found a cornhole available. We're going to play with the family. Can you keep it? And so he was there and kind of like was throwing the thing. I run, get my family together. It's a whole ordeal because we're so many. We finally get there.
Well, first off, it takes 15 minutes to gather them all because there's so many of them. So I'm there and I'm like, all right, I'm like getting tired here, bored.
So by the time I arrived with my family, it was taken already by somebody else, and Louis was eating an ice cream. And I thought to myself, I have two options. Either I get upset, or I think this is so curious. What is this being doing eating an ice cream?
Oh, that ice cream.
And I'm like, well, yeah, for sure, he wanted an ice cream. He just stopped what he was doing. But have that little playfulness inside of you. I think it's important, right?
Yes.
Anyway, so then you're curious about who this person is and what are they doing. The next one is the letter E, which is for the word balanced, which is education.
Education.
Education. So it's important to educate yourself about who your partner is. What are their inner child wounds? What are the things that they lived? In which ways they were hurt?
Their past.
Their struggles. To also have that compassion to understand them. And also to have the care to remember certain things that could affect them.
Right.
You know? So I know, for example, for Louis, that if anything gets, if he gets very tired, or if anything gets a little bit chaotic, he needs to take space. I know that. So I don't take it personally, because that has to do with his past and his life. So I am very grateful that you don't get frustrated frequently or anything, but when you do,
Right.
I'm like, I know he needs to
I'm just
take.
tired.
He's tired. He needs to take space. It's true.
It's true.
It is true. So I think educating yourself about the past of your partner goes also a long way. And then also education means growth. So what we're doing here, we're all growing. And so we, after this weekend, we become a better version of ourselves. You know, and by becoming a better version of yourself, even if your partners didn't come to this, when you start changing, the environment around you starts changing. So
That's it.
I think education. And the last one, but I think should be at the top of it, it's Dios.
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 What is
Dios? Dios means God. It comes from the Latin word Deus. And I think that God is permeating in everything. I think when you are putting two things together like this, it's easily to do this. But when you're doing a braid, and you're braiding this thing with God, then it becomes solid and strong and beautiful. And I am so grateful for you in my life.
Te amo muchísimo.
I didn't know, but I trusted that you existed somewhere. And I'm so grateful of all the life lessons. I'm so grateful for your mom that is right here. You have a wonderful son. And for everybody, in every circumstance, with every parent we've had.
I know you have learned a ton. And we talk about this stuff like every night. We're always talking about these things. But you created an acronym about kind of your perspective on love